Alright, so here we are back to make another video following up with the 2015 Buick Regal. So, actually let me turn my heater off, give me one second. Getting kind of warm in here anyway. Alright, so 2015 Buick Regal came in the shop, misfire, running like crap, a few other things. Diagnosed it, if you didn't watch my other video, I diagnosed it down to a hole or a blown ringland, as you would like to call it. If you don't know what that means, it just pretty much means that there's a piece missing of your piston in cylinder number 2. And we talked and decided that the best course of action, or he decided that the best course of action would be to completely rebuild the engine, because at least that way he knew that he would get longevity out of the new motor versus buying a used engine and praying to mercy that it lasts, or spending a boatload of money on a crate engine and then having me install it. This came out to be a little bit cheaper. We decided we were going to rebuild it. I've got all new parts coming for it and everything. So we'll get to the point. The point is this. There was a hole in the piston. There was also metal shavings inside of the oil pan. And as I stated, once I got everything tore down, I was going to make another video, which here I am. Right here in front of me, I have the 4 pistons. I have the, I would call it the upper, or probably lower block that actually the main bearings hold the crankshaft in. Unlike some V8s and stuff like that, they have main caps. I would say this is basically a main cap. Anyway, I also have the crankshaft over here, and then I have all the rod and main bearings sitting right here on my my toolbox. And I don't mind the mess. I work good with messes, but anyway. So I'm going to show you guys kind of how everything looks, okay? So this one right here, I've got a Mark II. This one right here is cylinder number 2. See that chunk that we've seen in that last video? I'll pull it over to the side so you can actually see it a little bit better. It is missing that whole entire thing. And this ring, the top ring, does not move at all. Pull out a little bit. Don't mind that. It'll pull out a little bit, but it will not move. So this is your compression loss. This is why he was having oil come over the piston, because he wasn't having compression working properly. Aside from that, if you look right there, you'll see that ring, let's see if I can get my thing, that ring right there at the top, right there, it doubled back on itself, and it's actually seized to itself. So there's your other compression ring not doing its job. On top of that, you got your bottom. This is your 3rd ring. This is your oil ring, okay? It's technically 3 in 1, basically. You've got the bottom ring, and then you've got the little squiggly one. If you look inside there, if you can, I don't know if you can. And then the top one, and that keeps the oil below the piston head. But as you can see on that one, no go. Why? Well, if you remember in my other video I made, on boosted applications, when ringlands go, it is because they have a excessive lean condition and it's ran too long, causing the cylinder head or the cylinder walls to overheat, and they end up blowing out the ringlands, putting burning holes in the piston, and all sorts of havoc. Next, we are going to show the main bearings here. I don't have these ones numbered because they really don't matter, but I'm just going to kind of show you, go through and show you all of this. So here's one. You can clearly see right here and right here the grooves that are in this main bearing. Now bearings, they're only made out of a couple of materials. You know, they have a little bit of aluminum, some copper in some of them, and you know, whatever. These 2 holes, as you can see, these are for the oil. So the crankshaft sits in here and it rotates. On the bottom side, you have oil galleries, and they shoot oil inside of here, and that's what lubricates the crankshaft as it turns. So I'll grab another one here. just to kind of show you I'm cleaning the oil off, so it makes it a little bit easier to see. Don't mind the noise in the background. My neighbors are moving some stuff too. But we'll get to that one. You see that? All of that completely torn into. Same thing. All that metal, all that little particles, wherever that went, is rotating and it's cycling through the oil. So now it's not only getting inside the block and wreaking havoc on anything that runs on oil, it is killing all of the bearings. Because the bearings, instead of having nice, smooth, synthetic oil, it has contaminated oil with metal shavings in it. And what that does, as you can see even on this one, it wreaks havoc. Every single main bearing has that issue. On top of that, I'll pull this one out and clean it a little bit here. This one is one of the main bearings. It's a center bearing, but it's also the thrust bearing. Now if you look at this, you see it's got one little side right here. This one goes right here. If I can get it to stay, there we go. So that's how it's technically supposed to look, as you can see, right? Problem was, when I took this out, this came completely off. See this? It's not supposed to. They are pressed in. This one was so far gone that unless I'm holding it, it will fall off. See? Get back on there. See if I can get it to stay on there long enough to kind of just show you guys a little bit. Probably not going to work for me. But anyway, main bearing in the center. You see those lines. You can see them real clearly. That's all the main bearings. Now, let's move on to the rod bearings. I'm going to undo these, and I specifically, just hand tightened all the bolts for the rod caps to hold them onto the rods because I didn't want to lose these bearings. Okay? These bearings, they're not really a press-in, but they're kind of a press-in. Basically, when you put it into the cap, it's supposed to push in and stay pretty much locked to that cap or to the rod itself so that it doesn't fall out. And then they have little notches. And the notches keep that in place so you don't end up having issues like a spun rod bearing. If you ever heard that terminology, you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. So, there we go. This is one of the rod bearings. Now, I'll clean this off a little bit, just so you can kind of see. Okay? You see all the crap? It's supposed to be smooth as a button. We got all these scuffs and everything. So, something decided to let loose, and the oil got contaminated, and it started taking out rod bearings. Now, I'll also show you this. As I said, you've got your rod bearing. I'm going to clean this up a little bit here just to kind of give a better understanding, okay? You've got your rod bearing. You've got your rod cap, okay? Now, when these are installed, they're supposed to be clean as a whistle. No contamination. There's a specific reason as to why they do that, so you don't end up with this issue. Now, like I said, when you put these bearings into, I'll show you, they've got that little groove. You can see that little groove right there. It's a notch out. The rod bearing, or the rod cap and the rod itself have the exact same notches. So when you put that in there, it's supposed to sit nice and evenly in there. If you can see where that's supposed to be at, right? But I'm going to show you. When you put that in there, it's supposed to stay in there. It didn't. If you look at the back of the rod cap behind the bearing, you see all of that? That is excessive heat due to lack of lubrication, friction. What happens when you take a piece of wood and you little shiv wood like that and you rub it against the other piece of wood? It gets hot, right? Ends up making possibly a fire, if you know anything about Boy Scouts or anything. Anyway, but kind of a better understanding. In this case, this right here is due to very bad lubrication and excessive friction on the rod bearing itself. what that does is between the rod and the crankshaft is where this sits, okay? You got a crankshaft journal. This sits around that crankshaft journal, okay? Both the bottom and then the top. And just picture, if you will, there's a crankshaft journal inside there. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but RPM stands for revolutions per minute, okay? Revolutions per minute means how many times that crankshaft does one revolution per minute. Yeah, having a bad word day. Now, if your car is sitting and idling at 800 RPMs, it means that it is doing 800 revolutions per minute, okay? That's at idle. You're driving down the road and you kind of decide you want to pass somebody, you give her some beans, and now you're sitting at 3,500 RPMs or 4,000 RPMs. You are now doing 4,000 revolutions of that crankshaft per minute. You might not think that's a lot, but that is an insane amount, especially with the super low tolerances that you have between this and that crankshaft journal. The only thing that separates them is that super thin film of oil that the crankshaft puts out onto the rod to keep it lubricated, and so that the friction like that doesn't happen. Now, why did this do this? Multiple reasons, okay? Multiple reasons. One of the reasons being it was probably ran lean, some pieces of metal from the top of the piston and the ringland and the rings and all that stuff got in there and just started wreaking havoc. But another reason, and this is going to be a little bit bigger of a job to show you, so let me move this rod out of the way here. See if I can get it without the bearing falling off. Just so I can get this close enough so you guys can see this real quick here. I've got the, I want to call it the crank or main bearing cap, but it's like literally the bottom half of the block. On some of these smaller engines, they do it like that specifically to keep the crankshaft in place because of, you know, it's a smaller engine, so it's not a big deal. But I'm going to show this to you. This, let's see if I can get this thing to. This is the bottom half, okay? Right here is where the main bolts go in place. You got one here, one here, one here, one here. Technically, this is a 4-main cap setup, basically. But what's kind of hard to see, if you can look inside of there, okay? There is sludge all inside of this, okay? Let me see if I can get my finger in there to kind of just show you what I'm talking about. You see that? I know it's kind of hard to see. I don't have the proper lighting and stuff, but that right there, oh, maybe, let's see here. Okay. Yeah, there we go. All right, let me do some more here, okay? I'm going to just go into somewhere simple, all right? You see that? Grit. There's nothing smooth about that. That is straight grit. That, my friends, is bad. I'll flip it around here, and we'll show you what the main journals look like, okay? Here are your main journals. Same thing as the rod. You know, this goes in a certain way. It's got this little taper right here, but I'll show you what the actual, it's kind of like what the rod bearing is supposed to do, okay? So you set it in just like so. This one actually might be the wrong one. Let me find the right one here. Ah, here we are, okay. So, you set that in like this, and then it is supposed to, like that, okay? It is supposed to sit nice and snug inside there. It is not supposed to move. It is not supposed to fall. It's supposed to be in there nice and tight. Okay? But, so when you take it off, you go on the opposite side as that little notch, and you pop it out. Now, it's not supposed to go that easy because, you know, obviously as you see. But I'm going to show you too. See that backside? Remember those two holes I was telling you about? That right there is for the oil gallery. That right there is sludge. Sludge built up. There is actually a nice thick sludge right there, okay, on both sides. That right there is preventing oil to get into those passages to properly lubricate your engine, your crank, your rods, your camshafts. If you have more than one, you know, it gets to be horrible. Look at this. You guys see this? Look at all that crap. That is sludge buildup, okay? Now, like I said, running a vehicle lean can cause some certain issues and everything like that. But sludge buildup, in a case of this one, can be easily avoided. I don't know how many times I have made videos about this, but I will continue stating it in my videos. Routine maintenance. Change your oil. It's that simple, okay? Not 5,000 miles, not 10,000 miles. I don't care what the manufacturer says. I am living proof right here. I am showing you 3,000 miles. Don't go over it, okay? You end up with this crap. It may not affect it maybe once or twice, but if you are constantly giving your car the longevity of 5,000 or 6,000, maybe even 10,000 miles on your oil change, this is the crap that you are doing to your engine. All of this crap, okay? And then you end up in the shop, maybe not me, you end up in a different shop, somebody who charges a lot more than I do, because I'm probably one of the cheapest priced persons around, and it costs you $7,000 to $8,000 because you couldn't change your oil on time, or specifically because you didn't know any better. The manufacturer told you 5,000, 10,000 miles. So what'd you do? You changed it 5,000, 10,000 miles. Well, guess what? It doesn't do you any good. 3,000, or you end up looking like this. You see all this crap? It's horrible. Anyway, we'll go on to the next piece. Yeah, I should have put gloves on, but who cares? Okay. Next piece is this bad boy. This is your crankshaft. Okay. This looks a little bit different between some. Let's see if I can get this up higher so you guys can see it properly. All right, there we go. Kind of whatever. You guys can kind of see this. I'll straighten this out maybe. There we go. Okay. So the way this works is you have, in this circumstance, you have 4 cylinders. So you got 1 cylinder here, 1 cylinder here, 1 cylinder here, and then one all the way over here. It's kind of hard for me to show that to you. All the rest of these right here, right here, right here, right here, and then on the back side are your main journals, okay? If you can see, like right there, and right there, those holes, if you can recall correctly, go for these rod bearings, or these main bearings, okay? Same thing with the rods. They have them on the rod caps too, or rod journals as well. They have those holes. What those holes do is it pushes from the oil pump, it pushes oil out, and it gives it a nice thin film of oil to properly lubricate your crankshaft journals and your rod bearing journals, okay? It is supposed to work like that. That's why they're called rod bearings and main bearings, or crankshaft journal bearings, specifically because they run off of oil, very, very thin film, and it runs and constantly keeps going, right? Now, when you introduce foreign material into that, you're getting crud in your oil. So when your oil is trying to properly lubricate everything, and it's got metal shavings, it's got sludge buildup because you didn't change your oil enough like you were supposed to, or any number of other reasons, crap gets between the rod bearing, the main journal and its bearing, and it wreaks havoc on everything, okay? If you can see there, right there, that's a score. This crankshaft is junk. Believe it or not, this thing didn't tick, didn't knock, didn't do nothing. It just ran like crap. It happens once in a while where you don't notice it. Try to find my... Give me a second, let me find my... Oh, where did I keep losing it to here? Ah, there it is. Oh, I'm going to clean that off a little bit here. Kind of show you if I can. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that a little bit better. How about here? Look at this. And we drop it too. There. All right, get that back. Okay. Clean a couple of these journals up to just kind of show you exactly what goes on, okay? You see those score marks? Now, what you guys can see is a lot less than what I can actually see right here, okay? This is all score marks due to foreign materials in the oil. That has it. This one has it. This one has light grazing, but the worst ones are the actual rod bearings, okay? So you've got your rod bearing over here, 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 and here. All 4 of them have scoring on them. I think 4 out of the 5 main bearing journals actually have some crap on them too. But it's sad because it could have been avoided. Just taking care of your vehicle, scheduled maintenance, taking care of stuff, could avoid all of this. Anyway, so this crankshaft is junk. The rods are junk. The pistons are junk. The piston rings are junk. I have to dismantle the whole entire engine, which I already have. I've just got a couple of sensors that I need to get out of it. I have to take all of that now. I've got to take it to a machine shop. I have to have them pressure check it, make sure that the cylinders are still within spec. They're going to clean the whole entire block back up, including the head. They're going to go through, probably rehome the cylinders for me and everything too. I've got brand new parts on the way, so we're getting a brand new crankshaft, pistons, rings, rods, bearings, the whole 9. Okay, basically this engine's going to be brand new by the time we're done. But it ain't cheap, okay? This is only a 4-cylinder. If you had a V8, it'd be a whole different system. You would have 8 cylinders that you would have to deal with, and 8 pistons, and a big, huge, heavy crankshaft that usually weighs about 50 to 60 pounds. This one weighs probably about 30 or so. But I'm going to show you guys the block now real quick, okay? So bear with me while I do this. Well, actually, I'm going to show you this one first, all right? I'm going to show you the oil pan, and then I'm going to show you the oil pump and oil pump housing, all right? So this is your oil pump right there, and there's a pickup tube that comes out right here and it sticks up right here. This is your oil pump housing and pulley system. There's a sprocket that gets bolted right here, and then the timing chain runs through this onto the crankshaft, and that is what turns your oil pump. You can see me turning that right there. But that's what turns the oil pump in there. We've got a brand new oil pump coming because I do not want to chance it. Now, we'll move this kind of sideways here. Here's your oil pickup tube. You see all of that? That is all metal shavings and stuff. You can see the glitter right here too if I turn it just to the right way. Well, that's not even the worst part. This. You see that? That is a silver tone to it. That is straight metal glitter. And when you rub your fingers together, you can just feel it is grit. There's nothing smooth about that. It is supposed to be smooth, okay? If your oil looks like this, you need a new engine or a rebuild. It's that simple. Like I said, don't mind the mess. Then we have the other part of the block. This is the top end of the block. If you're looking at it right now, we're looking at it upside down, basically. This is where your crankshaft goes right here, and each piston goes into those holes. These right here, there, and there are your oil squirters. Well, how they work is they squirt oil into the backside of the piston to keep it cool, okay? So that way you can do better performance on your vehicle and everything. Let's see if I can flip this back around here. Give me 1 second, I'll put you guys down here for a minute. There we go, okay. And then this is the top side. This is where the cylinder head would go up and the pistons would be facing up right here, okay? So cylinder 2 was the one that was missing a piece of the piston. So we're gonna look. Do you see all that right there? Not over here, not over here. Although there's a little bit discoloration in that one. But overall not bad. Nothing that a hone won't take out. Now this one, on the other hand, this might be bad. We're not 100% sure on that. So when I take this to the machine shop and I have him check everything, he's going to be able to tell me if that cylinder is any good or if the customer needs a new block. But yeah, this is completely out of the car now, and that is the next step. Another thing that kind of sucks about these is they don't make, or they don't come directly from the factory with an oil pan gasket, a timing cover gasket, or that secondary part of the block right here, the main cap piece. They are all gasket maker. Permatex, okay? Like silicone. Timing cover, bottom oil pan, this part, the whole nine, except for obviously the head gasket, is all silicone, sealant. Who in the right mind decided to go that way is beyond me, because you're running a turboed system. Even if it is a 4-cylinder, you know, you're going to end up having problems. But anyway, for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll do more videos along the way. Like I said, I'm going to take the block and the head to the machine shop probably tomorrow. Have them go through and clean it, make sure that everything's 100% while we're still waiting on parts. I'm still waiting for the crankshaft, you know, the main big parts on it, which should be here by later on this week or the beginning of next week. We'll see. So I'll be making more videos as I go along. I'll show you guys what the block is going to look like after it's fully cleaned and everything, what it should look like technically and stuff. And then I'll do a video of how I put the bottom half of the engine back together, and then how I go through and do the rings on the pistons. I'm going to pre-gap these piston rings for this customer, just because even though it is a stock engine, I want longevity, so that way that it's taken care of properly. But anyway, that is all for now. If you guys have any questions, comments, or anything, feel free to message me, comment on it, whatever you want. So, but that's it for now. Thank you for watching Kramer's Auto Repair.